pregnancy should be a time of joy and not anxiety for the woman and her family. Do you want to learn more about pregnancy or have questions about fertility and reproductive health? Then join Dr. Linda Vanutu on Facebook and YouTube every Saturday at 4 p.m. on the Online Pregnancy School as she discusses pregnancy, delivery, and childcare.
Hello, viewers. Welcome to the Online Pregnancy School. It's a pleasure for me to invite you to join me today as we continue with our discussion on my story, where we are featuring Debbie talking about her son who has Down syndrome. What is it like and how do we handle it? My guest is Debbie. Debbie has a sweet son called Kofi. Kofi is 7 years old and she's telling us her journey. It all shows that she's a human being, right? Because she's gone through so much. She says that she was depressed. How can I have a child like this? And one key thing that she said, which I believe needs to be looked at, is that all the terms used for people who have disabilities are not good. They are not good. If you bring them into our local language, you may not want to have a child like that. And in fact, we'll be talking about different stories, but there are even instances where children who have disabilities have been given names as if they were not human beings. And they are even told to be, the parents or the mothers are told to go and leave these children, yes, somewhere, throw them away, so to speak. But is that what we want to do? No, it is not. The child may not be exactly what you were expecting, but it doesn't mean that this child is not a human being. The child is a human being. My name is Dr. Linda Vanutu, and this is the Online Pregnancy School. Let's go for a short break. You are welcome back. Today, my guest is Debbie Mangote. Debbie is telling us a very wonderful story, not about anybody, but about herself and her sweet son, Kofi. Now, Debbie, you have said a lot about how you felt, but is there anything that we have to know about his growing up? Because you've said that you tried, because you read, because the doctor, and thank God for the doctor, and God bless him. And you are telling us about how he helped you, how he gave you the raw facts for you to know that, look, there's work to be done. I cannot just sit here and pity myself. But in terms of Kofi, is there anything that was strange? Is there anything that made maybe your situation even worse, that it made you more depressed? Is there something that you expected him to do which he could not do, and therefore you were so sad that it made you very unhappy about the whole situation?
Thank you very much, Doc. To answer that question, Down syndrome, basically, you and I have 46 chromosomes. Down syndrome, they have an extra copy of the 21st chromosome. And that extra copy alone is what causes all the changes and the accompanied issues or conditions that the child is born with. Doesn't mean he's, like you mentioned, he's not normal. His normal is the 47 chromosomes. But unfortunately, that extra chromosome makes him come up with unique physical features. If you read literature on Down syndrome, they will tell you that persons born with Down syndrome look like other persons with Down syndrome, but they look more like their family members. And so if Kofi is standing alone, yes, I don't know if I can go into that, so that will let me answer the question.
Yes.
But if Kofi, you and I have, so I am told I look like my father, big eyes, curved nose, pointed nose, and all the facial features nicely there. My son has all of that, except his nasal bridge is flatter. And so that makes his face look almost flat. His ears are set lower on the head than you and I, how ours are set. He has shorter and thicker neck than you and I. And I should have sent you a picture, and this is the point where you can share a picture of how Kofi looks physically so that people who are watching should see. And they tend to have shorter than normal limbs. When I say limbs, I mean the arms and then the legs. And they tend to be stout, if I can say that, shorter
Yes.
than normal, So a typical, my daughter is taller than me, and Kofi, well, for someone with Down syndrome, he looks taller for his age. That is what the assessments we've been doing so far tells me. But some of the features also are that he has only one palmar crease. So you and I have these lines in our palms, but Kofi has only one straight one through. And naturally, his mouth is, the oral cavity is smaller. So it makes it look like he has a bigger tongue, but that is not the case. It's just that the oral cavity is smaller. So most of the time, and Kofi, we have worked on it, so you don't see him with the protruding tongue. But when he's tired, when he's sick, when he's sleepy, you will see him with his mouth open and sometimes with his tongue protruding. The issues, so these descriptions I have given have other ripple effects on his well-being. So Kofi, as a child, was born with a leaking valve in his heart. Some children with Down syndrome are even born with a hole in the heart. So they tend to have heart issues. Some have digesting system issues. Kofi didn't have that. He only had the heart issue. And he also has severe obstructive sleep apnea. So we can go for weeks when I haven't slept because you lose guard and you sleep, and he's likely to choke in his sleep. We had surgery to address that, but the issue has reoccurred. He has delayed speech, but at 7 years, when he speaks, 80% of the time you understand what he's saying. And all of this we don't take for granted because Kofi started doing speech, physio, occupational, and aqua therapies when he was just about a year old till now. Due to COVID this year, he hasn't done any therapies because classes has been online, and so we've not gone for any therapies. But for 6 years, Kofi has been doing consistently speech therapy, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and aqua therapy. They're just, swimming, get him to be able to use his limbs and everything. So we have worked hard. I won't lie to you. And I'm happy with where he is because we are told cognitively they are delayed, but I love reading. My daughter doesn't seem to like reading, but Kofi loves reading. And at 7 years, he can read the basic, 4 to 3 letter word storybooks, And for me, that excites me, because when we had the diagnosis, if you told me Kofi will be reading at 7 years, I would look at you and say, okay. But now I know, because I put in the effort. I worked hand in hand with his doctors, with his therapists, with his class teachers. I am constantly asking, what are you working on, so that when he comes home, we can work. Because, Doc, you remember I told you about consistency. What is he working on in school, in weekend, when he comes home, so that we can continue working on those things with him. I have also been exploring some of his interests, and he loves music and dancing. So I think one of the things that I have done is, when I have a need for my son, I keep on knocking on doors until one opens. So I signed him up with one of the best dancing schools in Ghana, Vivi's Dance Factory. And he has had 2 stage performances professionally directed, one at the National Theatre and one at the School of Performing Arts, University of Ghana. So it is possible. It is possible. Kofi has his challenges, but in acknowledging his challenges, I put interventions there that can help him overcome those challenges. I don't want to bury my head in the sand and pretend they are not there. They are there. And that is why I will continue to provide the needed guidance and interventions that will help him overcome those challenges as best as he can, and with the available resources to me to be able to do that. So yes, these are the challenges Kofi has. Of course, when you have sleep apnea, it translates into behavior and other issues. So there are days that we can go and he's just throwing tantrums, but I understand, because he hasn't slept. I can myself become snappy because I haven't slept well. He suffers from weight gain, so we have to continuously monitor his portion sizes and his physical activity, so that whatever he's eating, he's able to burn outright and all of that. I'm not a doctor, but Kofi is making me a lay doctor.
Yeah, you know, when you were talking about the single palmar crease and all that, I was just remembering our days in the medical school, when we had to learn this about chromosomes and all that. Yes, and I'm sure some of our viewers are just wondering, what is all this that they are talking about?
Yes.
Today we are talking about my story, and we are sharing the story of Debbie and her sweet son, Kofi, who was diagnosed at birth with Down syndrome, and how she has managed to go through. But Debbie, all these are very good and they are very important. What about simple things like, can he eat by himself, or you have to feed him about the toilet? Because some people may be wondering, so will my son be able to clean himself when he goes to toilet? Will he be able to feed himself? If he's hungry, can he say it? If he wants to drink water, if I go to town with him, wouldn't he run away from me?
Oh, no.
Some of these basic things are there. How did you manage all that?
See, you see, Doc, that is why I would forever be grateful for Dr. Danso, because it is the attitude of the parent and the caregiver that the child will emulate. So for me, as soon as I was told things like this, he will not walk, don't expect him to walk in the first 2 or 3 years, don't expect him to do this, don't expect him to do this, but if you put in interventions, maybe. I put in the interventions. So, like I told you, I am a working person, and unfortunately, I have a child that is or was care intensive from the beginning. So I had to strategize early so that it doesn't become a burden. So what I did was, it will surprise you to know that Kofi's first word was not mama, it was banana. Wow. Because every time I put food in front of him. And I bought this high chair because I wanted him to learn the art of feeding himself. And so once I put something in front of him, I go like, Kofi, this is pawpaw. Kofi, this is banana. Kofi, this is rice. And so consistently, everything I was doing, and even these things, even before Kofi could talk, he had choice, because if I'm coming to feed him and I ask, Kofi, we have rice, we have bangkun, what do you like? At the mention of what he likes, his demeanor changes. So I know that this is what he wants to eat. And so I give him that. I wanted my son to have the choice and the ability to choose right from the beginning. So Kofi started feeding himself before he turned 1. Wow. Yes, it was messy, but he fed himself. Yeah. And there was a certain pride I see in him that he's been able to, until date, we have something we do, papa, and he will say, finish, like I have finished my food, that kind of thing. And Doc, this is Kofi.
Oh, he's come.
Kofi, say hi, and then you go back. All right.
Hello, Kofi.
Okay, I'll come to you later, okay?
Wow, he's come. I'm sure he's wondering, why are they mentioning my name so often?
Exactly. So those are the things I was mentioning. I was told speech will be delayed, but Doc, that doesn't mean he doesn't understand me when I say the things. So once I knew he could understand me, every time I'm doing something, I am mentioning the names of the activities. I am telling him what I am doing, what he is doing. Kofi, mommy is going to bath for Kofi. Kofi needs to sit down to poo-poo. And sometimes, Down syndrome comes with constipation. So we have rhymes that push, and then he'll push and the poo-poo will come out and things like that. So I guess the way is not to be embarrassed in front of your son, and then they can be themselves with you too. So I didn't really care. This is my child. And if I have to be silly to get him to smile, to get him to respond in a way, I would be silly for him. Yeah, and exactly. those are the things I did. And so Kofi was, like I mentioned, I started sitting him on the, what is it called? Chamber pot. Yeah. When he was, about 3 months, I sit in it's between my thighs, and then he's sitting on it, and we are talking, and he will do his thing. So from about 6 months, Kofi does not poo-poo in a diaper. He will wee-wee in it, but he doesn't poo-poo in it. Okay. And then and it's also because of the blessing of Down syndrome, because he constipates. As a mother, I learned his body language. So I knew when he wanted to poo-poo. And so I would just take off the diaper, set him on the chamber pot, and then he would do it. And over time, he just didn't even like to do it in the diaper. So he will be all right in the diaper, but if he needs to poop, as soon as you take off the diaper, he will do it. Wow. Kofi became potty trained at 2 years. I mean, from 2 years, I didn't have to buy diaper, And it wasn't just like day potty trained, but day and night. He can go to bed, and then maybe around 10, thereabout, I pick him up to go and wee-wee, set him in the bed again. And first thing in the morning, he wakes up straight to the bathroom to go and wee-wee. So it is how you, the mother, like I'm saying, if you do the pity party, people will come and pity you, but you need to see that there is work to be done, and then you need to strategize on how you can do it, one activity at a time, and be consistent with it. So Kofi knows that and Doc, one of the things about people being shy about going out with him, he is my son. Yes. He is alive. He is growing. So for how long can I leave him at home and go and do activities outside without him? So I started showcasing my son very early in life. And because of that, he is able to emulate socially appropriate behaviors. Okay. So we go out, he knows, and he's very, very good with landmarks and direction. You go this way and he knows where you are going. You go that way and he knows where you are going. So it is all how you, the parent, want your child to turn out.
Wow.
And Kofi, I don't have a problem. But yes, every now and then you are in public and he has a meltdown, he has a tantrum issue, but he gets frustrated when he's saying something and we don't understand. But who doesn't? Who doesn't get frustrated when you are talking to someone and they don't seem to get it? So that is a typical response. That is how I see it. Okay. And so, yeah, that is it. I gradually, show him what to do, how to do. Kofi, don't say it this way. We say it this way. Please, thank you. Can I, may I, those kind of things. And because I was told that his speech would be delayed, I knew I was a working mother and I knew I wanted him to go to school. Our schools instruct children in English.
Yes.
So in the house, our language of communication with him is English. That is what I started right from the beginning. But Doc, it will surprise you to know that because we speak Twi and Ga around him, now he's speaking, we are not speaking Ga and Twi directly with him, but he is speaking some of those languages that he can tell you, Auntie Amabra, Toyoten, Yejuba, that kind of thing. He's able to respond to those, but it isn't like we are intentionally like I am with the English. Okay. So with time, these things would also come along, but I needed him to understand me in English language and communicate to me because I didn't want the languages to be too much for him to understand and then be confused, which one do I communicate with? So I chose English language. So my mother, who has never been to school, will even speak broken English with me. That is what I told her will get him to communicate with her.
Okay. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard a lot. My guest for today is Debbie. Debbie has a child, Kofi. You saw Kofi. He came and he had this beautiful smile, which he shared with us. Kofi was diagnosed with Down syndrome. And Debbie is sharing with us her story of how she has managed up till now. We'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue. Welcome back. Now we're going to listen to Debbie. I believe that a lot of people are wondering, from all that she has said, it means that you need to have a lot of money to be able to take your child for swimming and for professional teachers to teach him how to speak, go to the doctor, even when she did, and now she bought the high chair, a whole lot of things. But it may not be so. One word which she has used is consistency. And I believe that God also watches us. When you have a desire, I believe that with all this, she's praying at the back. And God made all of us. So God is seeing all this, and I'm sure that a lot is happening. Even for children who, in quotes, are said to be normal, some of them still are not able to learn more than one language at a time. But this, our sweet son, has learned to speak the English and then can also say words in Twi or Fanti and then in Ga. That is very, very good. And it all shows the effort and the time that has gone into getting him to this stage. And that is what we want. We want everyone to know that if you want to get something, people say that there's no pain. If you want to gain something, there's no pain. But there's also, it should be the right kind of focus. If you are doing this, you have to know what you are doing. You have to know what you want to achieve. You have to know how you will get there. Who are the people who will help you? And she has said that she knocks on any door that she believes will help her to get to where she wants to get to. This program, once again, is sponsored by Promise Ghana. And Promise is about life, the family. Vanuatu International, we believe that everybody has a potential. And therefore, with the right kind of support, this person's potential will come up. It's also sponsored by Reverse Tap. Reverse Tap, the drink comes from the bottom. So if you're having a party, a wedding, any occasion that demands that you serve drinks, call them and use their services. And now when you are serving, you don't want to touch the drink. So if you do that, you will never touch the drink, and therefore it will be hygienic. It's also sponsored by Samzara Ventures, manufacturers of Bubble Gold liquid soap. If you are in an office, you are in your home, you have an institution, these days we use a lot of liquid soap. Call them, and the soap has been approved by the FDA, and therefore you are sure that you are using the correct soap for your cleaning purposes. The program is also sponsored by Erama Clinic. Erama Clinic is there for you. They have the public health, they have the clinical side. They also have a pharmacy, and they have this milk which they have brought into the system called the Happy Milk. Some people have challenges when they take some other kinds of milk. So call them, please. You can have conversation with them on phone, and they'll be happy to help you out. So please call these people so that their businesses will bloom, and they will continue to have this program. This is the online pregnancy school, and my name is Dr. Linda Vanuatu. Today, my guest is Debbie. Debbie is sharing her story. She has told us a lot. Debbie, now let's hear you. People might think that it entails a lot of money. And then as you answer that one, kindly share with us what is the key lesson that you have learned. Then we'll continue.
Yes, ma'am. The truth is raising a child is expensive. But raising a child with additional health and educational needs is even expensive, even more expensive. That is the truth. I have heard some parents throughout my journey with my son say, oh, but my son hasn't done any therapies and she's gotten here. And the question I ask them is, can you imagine if they had therapies where they would have gotten to? So WHO itself says that, look, for children with special needs, early intervention is key.
Yeah.
And so no matter how, yes, you may not have the means, but I started, I didn't get a school for Kofi until he was 11 months old. When my maternity leave was over, and I was just before my maternity leave was over, I knew there are schools, creches that take young children 4 months old, and I started knocking on doors. And I have cried many times at car parks because they will tell me we don't have trained personnel to care for children like him. And I ask, he's only 4 months, 6 months old. What additional needs does he have? He poops, you clean him up. He's hungry, you feed him. And just provide care, supervised care whilst at work. It's not there. Until I contacted Down Syndrome International in the UK, and they recommended the school he is now to me. Yes. Until Kofi started school, and officially the school was doing, of course, education and the therapies, everything as a package. I was using YouTube to do some of the therapies for him. So now today, everybody holds an Android phone. Yes. Don't say that, oh, I don't have money, but you have money to buy credit. Why don't you use that credit to research through videos what you can do for your child at home? Those things are also there. There are a plethora of videos that shows you whether it is speech, whether it is physiotherapy or occupational therapy, what you can be doing for your child at home as a parent.
That's very important.
Yes. So I would not say people should say that the money bit should, deter them. No. If you really want speech therapy, if you don't get a school that offers it as part of the package, it means going to the district hospital or sometimes the tertiary facilities once every week or once every month to go and do those speech therapies. I would say, if you can, do it for your child, because the thing is, it is easy to get discouraged because you will be doing one thing for a long time and you think you are not seeing results. Doc, let me tell you, my son walked at 21 months.
Okay.
I left him at home. He was crawling with his big sister. I said goodbye and everything. And I went to the office, and that day we had a meeting at Atua Government Hospital. I was in the hospital with my boss, Dr. Peter Lamte, and then I got a video. We were waiting at a waiting area before the meeting started. So I was looking at my phone, and then I got a video from my daughter, and my son was running around the house. This was a boy who hadn't walked. I mean, the morning before I left home, he hadn't walked. He was crawling.
Wow.
And yet, within hours of leaving home, I received a video with him running around excited. And it just tells me that, consistency really pays, because if you continue to do what you're doing with them, you think they are not picking. You think they are not picking. One day, they just get up and do what they do. Children with Down syndrome do not obey anybody's time. They work on their own time. So, yes, when you are consistent with your effort, when the time is right, whatever results you are looking for from your child, you would get it. And for me, yes, that is what I would tell parents. In terms of my greatest lesson, my greatest lesson with Doc, there are so many, but like I told you, my greatest lesson is to continue to knock on doors of opportunity for my son. Wonderful. Because at 11 months, I was getting desperate that if I do not get a school for my son at 1 year old, it means I cannot close from work at 2. I would have to close at 5 or whatever time we close. And if I can't do that, then I will have to forfeit my job. So I wrote to organizations. I became a caregiver member of Down Syndrome International in the UK. And one day I was just sitting there and I said, why don't I tell these people what my challenge is finding a school for my son in Ghana, West Africa? And I did. Unfortunately, a school that is in Ghana here, but also registered in the UK as a charity organization, was affiliated with them, and they gave me the contact. I immediately went to their website. And when I read, they start taking children from 2 years old. My son was 11 months. I booked an appointment. The following week, I am a Friday born. My daughter is Friday born. My son is Friday born. I came home and I told my daughter, Michelle, next week, Friday, we are praying. We are fasting and praying to find a school for Michelle, for Kofi. She told me, okay. She was young. She was barely 17, 18. And we did. And I went to the appointment. They told me, oh yeah, but we take children from 2 years old. He's barely a year. I said, please, if you don't take my son, I have to stop my work. I am a single parent. How do I do that? How do I care for them?
Yeah.
And immediately I was told, okay, tomorrow bring him so that we could do an assessment. We did an assessment on a Friday, and Monday, my son started school.
Wow.
So consistency and persistence in telling your, my greatest lesson is share my true story with people, and there are helpers. There are people who are willing to help. So Kofi got admission at 11 months. He was in school for 1 whole month before he became 1 year old. He cut his first birthday cake in school.
Wow.
And again, like I'm telling you, it has been like that with other things throughout our life. We were scheduled to have surgery at Kolebu, and then you go, and then the date has been changed. And one day I just approached the surgeon and I said, I know you consult at another hospital. Is it possible we can reschedule the surgery to that particular hospital so that, because for as long as we keep on postponing this, my life as a mother is, work, and then you have a surgery, and then please, can we? And he said, okay, let me see what we can do. They reschedule to that hospital. So, Doc, my lesson is, once you have the need, ask. Because the good book itself tells us when we ask, we will get. So in Kofi's life, it is burdened on my heart that, Debbie, tell this person your story. They might be able to help with what you are encountered with right now. Most of the time, they help.
Wonderful.
The dance school Kofi went to, yes, I signed online, and I told them, they said, bring him for an interview. Before I went, I called and I said, he has Down syndrome. So he has low muscle tone, he has balance issues, and his speech is not, they said, yes, bring him, let's assess him. We went on the day of assessment, they took him in. So once you knock, yes, and there is someone on the other side, it will be opened. Wonderful. That's my lesson.
That is a very good lesson for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, today's program is different. We are sharing our stories. And my guest for today is Debbie Mangoti. Debbie is sharing with us her journey with her son, Kofi, who was diagnosed with Down syndrome. And one of the lessons, which she said is even in the good books, our Bible, is that knock and it shall be open. You see, when the Bible said that, God knew that to get to a point where somebody would have to knock. She said that once there's somebody on the other side, the door will definitely be open. So if you have a child who has Down syndrome and you think that life is over for you, today we have heard Debbie's story. From the way she has spoken, you realize it hasn't been easy, and she will tell you that it has not been easy. In fact, the day when we met and she spoke about Down syndrome, and then she said she had this child. But the good thing is that you are not the only person. I have seen children, I've been to the market where I've seen women selling who have children with Down, and they were helping their mothers in the market. They had trained them, they were helping them out. It may not be exactly what a child who doesn't have Down syndrome would do, but she's told us her child's story, what they have had to go through. Consistency, that is what she said. In terms of having money, she said, when you are raising a child, definitely you need money. You may need extra for this one. But then I believe that it means you also have to find ways that will make it easier and probably a little more within your means to be able to do this. One other thing she said, which I want to reiterate, is that people have money, they buy data, they put on their phones, and they use these phones for all sorts of things. But one thing you can use the phone for is to educate yourself. Find out about something that you need to know more about, and it is somewhere on that phone. Find it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Online Pregnancy School. My name is Dr. Linda Vanutu. Today we are doing my story. So we are sharing the story of Debbie, who has a child with Down syndrome. We will not be able to go through everything. But before we sign off, I'll ask her one more question. Let's go for a short. welcome back. Now, Debbie, you have told us so much, and I'm very happy that you have gone through this journey. And sorry about the other side, but that's why we are not talking about it today, about the fact that out of this, you became a single mom. I'm not surprised because so many times these things happen. And I'm sure as we go along with other stories, you'll find that it became the woman's burden. Now, for the governments that are listening to us, one key challenge is the education of such children. Where should they take them to? I believe that the Education Service should take this up. You know, early childhood development is key, and we'll be discussing some of these things as we go along in our program. But there are specific things that should be there for children who need extra care. And our hope is that as we share these stories, things will change. And for you out there, maybe you know somebody or you have a child yourself who has a need, please don't stay at home. If you have any question on what we are doing, send me a message or even send me a WhatsApp on my +233 59 242 0625. +233 59 242 0625. You can also send me a message on my Facebook page, or once you like and you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can send me messages. I'll be very happy to answer your questions for you. And for those who have been sending us messages, we are very, very grateful, and we hope that you are learning a lot as we go along. Some people have reached out to us with questions on pregnancy and other issues which we have answered. And I'm sure that they are being blessed by what we are doing. Also, as we do this, please remember to be praying along, because whatever you do, you need the grace of God, you need the help of God. So don't forget that as we have entered the new year 2021, it is time for us to even get closer to God. With all that happened in 2020, we need to get closer to God. So please don't forget to pray along, and any time that you join us, if you have any question, don't hesitate at all. Just send us a message and we'll be very happy to get back to you. Today, we are talking about my story, and we are looking at the Down syndrome. My guest is Debbie. Debbie has a child, sweet child, Kofi. For those who saw him, you see how he came smiling and all that. That is how we want children to be, even if they have challenges. Now, Debbie, if somebody wants to reach us, the person can reach me, but is there any support? Because now you have gone through this process, and I believe that there are a few others who have joined you. Is there any way that they can join you? What can they do?
Thank you, Doc. So if there is a parent out there who has a child with Down syndrome, please don't feel pressured by all I have shared to feel like you're not doing enough for your child. You are, just by loving them and being with them, but there is more you can do for your child. And fortunately, like Doc said, we have a group of parents caring or raising children with Down syndrome. We call it the Hope Alive Foundation. And then we also have, so we are trying to form like an organization for Down syndrome in Ghana. We are working on that. But this mainly is for advocacy purposes, supporting each other by sharing our experiences. A mother who I connected with earlier this year came to, eventually, she lives in Sunyani, and she says some of the services are not available there. Her daughter is now 8 months. And upon interaction, I told her the importance of early interventions. And I'm glad to say that she and her husband have traveled down to Accra twice to see therapists, to get intervention packages that they can do within a period of 3 months, and then they come down and review, and then they get more again. So the last time she came home and saw Kofi, and she was like, Auntie Debbie, now I know I'm not the only person with a child with Down syndrome, just seeing Kofi in person. So sometimes we feel isolated on our journeys because nobody understands you better than another parent going through what you're going through. So I would say that if somebody has a child and the support they are looking for is just a peer, somebody going through what they are going through, share knowledge, share experiences, guidance, do it this way, go here, because there's no financial support right now. I just want to lay that disclaimer because people join with that expectation that there's some money sitting somewhere that we are giving. But the thing is, it is a self-help group. I don't even like calling it a support group, because a support group presupposes that there's somebody to support you. But it is a self-help because you join because you want to learn skills and knowledge and experiences to help yourself and your child on your own journey. Then you can reach out to me on 0244 38 7846. 0244 38 7846. And I will tell you that there are parents who have children from about 6 months to 18 years on the group, on the platform. So we have parents along the whole cycle of life on the platform. You can join us and we'll be glad to welcome you and support you. You have experiences that you can also share that will help somebody on their own journey. And that is why we are here. I would say that, again, it is the way you treat your child that society will emulate. So if you look down on your child, if you hide your child, society will give you reasons to hide them more. If you look down on your child, society will help you to look down on them. If you are ashamed about your child, society will give you reasons to be ashamed about your child. I know I didn't do anything wrong to give birth to my child. Doctor is there, she will tell you it is a biological issues. None of us had a hand in being born black or fair or tall or short. And the same way with Down syndrome. Nobody has a hand in it. So please don't be ashamed about your child. Don't be ashamed about your journey. There are a lot of parents now advocating, putting our voice out there and our needs for our children out there. And it will be good to add your voice too. However, I acknowledge that the whole process of accepting the diagnosis and moving on is a spectrum. And somebody will have an 18-year-old child and they still haven't come to an acceptance of the diagnosis. But I tell you that if you do come to that acceptance place of the diagnosis, the journey forward is easier. It is easier.
Wow.
Than staying in denial. And I pray that no matter where you are listening to me on your journey with your child with Down syndrome or whatever disability, in terms of acceptance of that diagnosis and the child, my prayer to you is that they are a creation of the mysterious God we all serve. And so please, if you continue to believe in God, accept your child and trust God to give you the wisdom and the resources you need to be able to support the child to be the best that God created them to be. You are only a steward to guide them. And so do it for the glory of God and for your own joy, because they are so joyful. They are so, I don't know how to describe it. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, what a conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, today's program has been different. I'm sure you will agree with me that it has been different. Today, the online pregnancy school looked at my story. And our story for today is on the Down syndrome. Having a child with Down syndrome, what is it like? What is the journey? And my guest, Debbie has shared with us her story, what she has gone through, and all that it takes to be able to come to the level of acceptance. One thing that she said is that even at this time, sometimes it becomes challenging. And that is why there's the need for support. And that's why she said it is self-help. Everybody, you are helping each other. And please, there's no money sitting there for you to say, I'm coming for money to take my child to school. I'm coming for money to take my child to the hospital. No, it is about...
We haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, we have not. It is about supporting each other through this journey. And that is what we are talking about. This has been the Online Pregnancy School. Once again, my name is Dr. Linda Vanutu, and the program was sponsored by Vanutu International, Promise Ghana, Reverse Samsara Ventures, and Erama Clinic. My guest for today was Debbie. Debbie has shared her story, and she's also giving you her number. If you want to get in touch with her, you are please allowed to do that. But if you have any question for me, or you want us to discuss anything, send me a WhatsApp message on +233 59 242 0625 +233 59 242 0625. Or you can also send me a message on my YouTube or the Facebook, and I'll be very happy to answer you. One day we will discuss what Down syndrome is medically. She's giving us so much. She could have passed the exam, medical school exam on Down syndrome. She would have passed from A to Z because she is described to us exactly how they look like and what are some of the complications that they have and all that. Wow. Maybe some of you do not understand the chromosome. One day we will explain all those to you. But today we wanted to hear the story of somebody who has a child with Down syndrome and how she has managed to take this child to the level that the child has reached now. I hope you have learned a lot. You have enjoyed the program. And on behalf of all of us, I want to say a very big thank you to you, Debbie, for sharing the story. I know it was emotional. I know that it wasn't easy talking about some of the things you have gone through, but it will help somebody out there. And we pray to God that He will continue to give you that grace and the strength and even that passion to be able to continue. And you will be a source for other people's joy, because people will now not just think about the fact that I have this child, but they will look at the sweetness in these children. They like music, as you said. Hey, Kofi is coming to say bye to us. So we want to, bye, sweetheart. So we want to thank you so much, so much. Once we have questions and other comments, we'll get back to you. But thank you so much. This has been the Online Pregnancy School. I hope you have enjoyed it. Please remember to like my Facebook page and also subscribe to my YouTube channel, SHIC Ghana TV. On Facebook, it is Linda Vanutu or the Pregnancy School. Please share with friends. We want people to learn about pregnancy and how to take care of themselves as well as their children. It's been a joy hosting today's program. Bye.
Bye, Doc.